And speaking of those Gators, Shane, they're playing a huge game here on the road this weekend against the Missouri Tigers. Both teams will win away from punching their ticket to the postseason. So this is going to be one where both teams obviously are going to be fighting hard to get that win. But if you think back to this time last year, Shane, you remember Florida and Missouri, they had themselves a little dust up, a little mini brawl here on the field. This was the game where Dan Mullen, and this was after that brawl, he came out with the Darth Vader costume. And Eli Drinkwitz was not too happy about that. And, taking all that into consideration, considering how Florida basically didn't show up against South Carolina and got beat. They didn't show up for the first half of Samford and were getting beat. How motivated do you think they are to go up here to face a team that they think they'll probably just beat the brakes off, just like the rest of these teams? Whereas on the flip side, you got a Missouri Tigers that were dead, dead in the water here a couple weeks ago. Now they've got life. They just dominated the South Carolina Gamecocks, a South Carolina team that just beat Florida. Yeah. And they got completely disrespected, I think, by the Gators last season. So I don't know, Shane. I think the Gators might be getting in a little bit of a buzzsaw here.
Could be, Mike. I mean, for the longest time, we gave Mizzou a hard time about their defense, saying that they may be the worst defense in the SEC. And I don't know, Mike, the last 3 weeks, it looks like the Florida Gators, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know what the over-under on this thing is, but I'm expecting a shit ton of points in this game. And, I will say there was a couple things after the game. I think the biggest thing was the video leak of the locker room, because you just don't know. You don't know how these kids are acting. If they're, we've all been part of a team, and you go home and it's just like, was it a big game? Was everybody bringing everything they could to this moment? And you look at what Florida Gators have been going through, and I always felt like they weren't, man. I always felt like that maybe this locker room's disconnected. Maybe they just, maybe we should hit the portal because we ain't going to have a coach next year. But, when you see that and them taking in Coach Mullen there after the game, that gave me a little bit of a life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, on the flip side of the coin, you look at Mizzou, they had the tough game against Georgia. They beat South Carolina. They're starting to gain a little bit of confidence, Mike, and I think that's exactly what they need. And they're getting healthy. So you put all those pieces together, we're going to have a hell of a matchup here. So one of these teams got to walk away, but I think if you're ever going to beat the Florida Gators, this is your best shot.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, Shane. If I had to ask, one player that's kind of peaking at the right time, maybe the hottest player in this matchup, I think you'd have to say Tyler Badie, who just had another 200-yard performance. And I don't know if you keep asking him to carry the team here, but if he's able to do that, again, I think the Gators could be in trouble. But I see what you're saying. Maybe they just needed to get that win. I think it had been about a month since the Gators got themselves a win. They got it last week, so maybe that gives them some juice. But I don't know about you, Shane. I'd rather be on the team with Tyler Badie come Saturday.
Well, it's tough not to, Mike. I mean, I saw something come out. I want to give them credit, but I can't remember who said it. But there was like three running backs that have ever had 4 200-yard games. And, one of them was Leonard Fournette and the other one was Derrick Henry. I mean, that's thinking about the company you're with.
Right.
So Derrick Badie is one of those guys that has – he's super talented, man. And what sucks is I don't think he gets enough recognition for how good he really is. And that's why we talk about things like the Heisman and stuff like that. There's some players that literally are the team, and that's what Badie has been for the Mizzou Tigers, man. He's literally their team. And so I'm saying it right now, throw the record books out. He's my Heisman front runner.
Yeah, and Eli Drinkwitz right here, Shay, will play the clip. He asks him, how valuable is Tyler Badie to this team? He says, 5 wins valuable.
Last year, things got heated in this game. There was something just before halftime. How do you make sure there's no spillover?
Yeah, I don't see, that was kind of something that I think certain things got out of control, but I don't think it started as anything with the two teams. And I think it was something that maybe got a couple people Probably made it worse than it needed to be. That we're in the middle of it. And so to be honest with you, I don't see how that would even roll into this game, to be honest with you. I don't even think about it.
Are you and Drinkwitz tight, close?
Yeah.
Have you even talked to him since last year here?
Oh yeah, a bunch. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've known him a long time.
He took a little shot at you guys at SC Media Days, so.
Which one? I mean,
The one about he's praying for snow. You're going to complain about. You'll be able to complain about the weather and everything anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, he's got some personality. He has some funny little one-liner stuff and that. I've known him since. What was it? I think the first time I met him was when he was like a student assistant or something for Gus Malzahn when he was coaching in high school when I was there recruiting. So he reminds me of that. So. No, I got a lot of respect for him. Good guy, and I think there's. I didn't come out with any needling of him, but I think if I did, they would know it's all in good fun.
Dan, one of the things that's been so obvious this year, these glaring inconsistencies. You know, you have a bad first quarter against Alabama, then you dominate 3. Your defense shows at Kentucky, and the offense gives the game away. And on and on. It's been like a roller coaster ride. How frustrating is that, and how do you deal with solving that problem?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different ways that you look at it. There was a time, it was a 42-28 we were losing in that game on Saturday. And then we outscored them 42-10, you know, and from that point forward. And, you know, you wonder, I think there's a couple things. You can look at it and you can be really disappointed maybe at times. Imagine if we played at our high level every snap throughout the season. How good could we be? You also look, or maybe we're not as good, but all of a sudden things aren't going well, and we've had mental toughness to be able to go recover from it at certain times. You know, and I think there's all kinds of little things that go. Obviously, as a coach, you know, and you look at your team. You want to go out, I mean, I want to turn on the film, and you want to, like, everybody performs at the highest of levels, perfect assignment, perfect technique, perfect execution, and making plays on every snap of the game. You know, and at the end of the game, every time we have the ball, we average 14 yards of play, and we've scored every possession, and they have -4 yards and went 3 and out every possession, right, with 2 blocked punts and a kick return for a touchdown. You know, I mean, obviously that's probably unrealistic, but in your mind, like, you want to see your team perform at the extreme highest level of all times. But that's the challenge that we have, and it is frustrating. You want to see us, but I want to see the consistency of performance. There's times to me where I thought we've had great mental resolve to come back from tough situations to give ourselves opportunity to win. And maybe it wasn't we were terrible. We just had great mental resolve to come back. There's other times where, boy, we've been really bad, and I wish we could have played better and consistently throughout the year. So I think there's a little bit of both.
Eli, where are you at as far as picking your starting quarterback? And is that a process that goes through the week, or do you already know what you can do?
No, we're going to have great practice today. We're going to compete today and practice today and tomorrow and see where we're at and see who gives us the best chance to win.
Is it similar to last week where you can't have 3 separate plans?
I don't know if it's fair to say that. I think we, you know, no different than, you know, after a game early in the season where we said, hey, competition brings out the best in everybody. And so we're going to compete, and we'll see where it goes.
When you have a week like this where you have that, you know, 6 win on the line and bowl game stuff, is that something that you lean into?
No.
Do you avoid that? How do you kind of navigate that?
You know, I think it's important for us to focus on being 1-0. And then at the end of the season, you stack up how many wins you have and determine where you go. But there doesn't need to be any more external pressure because this game determines whether or not we go to a bowl game. If we're not motivated to go play for our seniors, if we're not motivated to play at home, like, how much motivation do you need? So I'm not leaning into that at all, really.
How valuable has he been in just his consistency, the way he bounces off tackles, yards after the initial contact? I mean, the way is so consistent.
Well, I think he's been 5 wins valuable. You know, I don't know that I don't know that we have 5 wins if it's not for Tyler Badie. And, you know, you think about the Central Michigan game and the fourth quarter when you know, he's able to break the long run and set us up to win the game. And, again, you get to the Vanderbilt game where they've cut it down to 3 and hand him the ball and he goes 78 yards. And then, you know, again, misplays in the fourth quarter that allow the game to get a lot closer than it needed to be. And then, you know, Tyler is able to run us down the field and we're able to take a knee. So, I mean, I think all those plays are really definitive of how much impact.
You know, I think something's going to be made about how you view Florida, especially maybe their head coach and everything happened at halftime last year. But when you look back on last year's game and maybe the rivalry between Mizzou and Florida, what are your thoughts on how kind of the state of that rivalry?
I mean, I think it's a good rivalry. I think we're 5-5, Missouri versus Florida. You know, last year was last year. I think we've put that to bed. Both teams issued statements following the game, and I don't think there's anything really to add to that. You know, I think Coach Mullen's a good football coach. Obviously, he's got a really sharp offensive mind and has been very good for a long time on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's been a head coach in this league for 13 years, which is saying a lot considering there's been several coaches that only lasted 2. And so I think, you know, obviously I have a lot of respect for how he's handled himself as a head football coach and the way he's developed programs. And so, I mean, to me, there's nothing there. We made statements last season, and I'll let those speak for themselves. You know, I made a joke this summer about wanting snow, and apparently the snow gods aren't going to cooperate. So I'll keep any more wisecracks to myself.